Welcome back to another episode of Joy, the Journey of You podcast. And we're excited to share a new topic with you today that we tuned into right before we started recording, and that is greatness. And in our coaching practice, we're very familiar with this, but if you're not from our coaching field, greatness is what we refer to our true self, who we are at a soul level without our egoic fears and worries and all of that, but who we are truly at our highest expression.
Mhm.
And what we that's why I am leading into the podcast today, because we tuned into that and I found that I was trying to egoically hide a little bit behind Devin. And
Welcome back to another episode of Joy, the Journey of You podcast. We're your hosts, Devin and Chris, and we're here for joy.
this podcast is your permission slip to reconnect to your inherent joy and to embrace it.
Let's fill up the cosmic joy pot together as we dive in to today's episode.
So in my greatness, I'm leading today. And our premise that we're working with today is that when we are present in our greatness, when we are truly viscerally connected to it, we can shift our vibrational state, our state of being, and we can have a continuous access to joy. And when we shift into our greatness, when we realize we're not, like when we record this podcast, and I'm like, yeah, Devin, you can go first. You can lead in. Like, have the stage. Not always in my greatness. And but when we are, and when we shift into our greatness, we can rise above that current vibrational state and we can shift it, right? Whereas when we're oblivious to even having access to our greatness, we can stay stuck in our lower vibrational state, which we also love to call shit. And so, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we're talking about today. Would you like to share your story first, Devin?
totally. I mean, first, I just want to say what a great topic. Greatness is such a great
Yes,
topic,
it
right?
is.
Yeah, because it's totally this picture of that when we're oblivious that we are even in our shit or in our lower vibrational state, we can't change it. We don't even have that awareness. And I remember when time frames when I wasn't as much in my higher state, right, where it was default mode was really the lower state, which really for all of us default mode is that lower state. But when you become more skilled in it, it's you have more access to your higher. But I remember this stage when before I was really immersed and knowing how to work with my greatness is in my clinic, my physical therapy clinic, things can get really fast paced, right? I can have patients back to back, and sometimes things can go over because a client or a patient really needs something in that session. And I remember days where it was just like a little chaotic, where things were back to back and running late, and it felt very stressful, right? And in that state, it really felt like and feels like everything's working against me. Like, why is the day going so fast? Why are people being pain in the ass? Why is this happening? Like all these things where your shit, the lower shit stuff is like it's all shit. Everything just looks like everything's going poorly, right? And it was in that moment when I realized, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm just stewing in it, right? And once I realized that and realized I wasn't connected to my greatness, that was like the click of awareness of like, okay, so just tune into, like, come up to your greatness. And it was just in that simple shift into being aware I'm not in that state. Let me do something to at least get closer to that state. And that's when it became aware to me that these are just external scenarios. I don't have to be, it doesn't help for me to be stressed out about it. And even though that makes sense logically, I think all of us know, like, I don't like to be stressed out. I don't like to be in my mind a lot of times. This is where it can seem logical. I don't want to, but there's a reason why a person is not able to, is because you're not playing on the vibrational scale of things, right? So you're just in the lower vibration, identified with the lower vibration, experiencing lower vibration. So everything feels low vibe. And it was in that particular scenario that I remember when I was starting to play with this and just being like, okay, so what if I came up out of that into my higher self and my higher vibration? And it just gives you a little breath of just being like, okay, it's a different point of view versus just being in it as much. And I could share so many stories in my journey of being more aligned with my greatness, of what happens and how we do that. But for those that are beginning and think and probably think this is a little like kooky to be like, you can do what? Is yeah, these were the beginning stages of just playing with this. So we're going to share more today. And as we do, I just invite you to again come into that playful curiosity of what is my greatness? How can I work with it? Because we're gonna share more later. But I would, before we do that, love to hear from your perspective, Chris, some insights on that in your experience too.
Mm. Yeah, what I loved about yours now is really that notion of being identified with the lower vibrational emotions. Like you get like it's almost like you don't feel angry, you are angry, right? And you like
Yeah.
when you say I am, you're identified with that state, and that is part of you. And that's why it becomes so hard to rise above and to let loose of that grip that it has, because it's like this is my
Yeah.
truth, like I cannot be anything else, and if
That's
I let go, what happens?
that's such a good thing. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I just got excited because I was like, how many times people say I'm anxious? Like the identification with I am anxious, I am
Exactly.
anxiety. Thank you
Mhm.
for saying that. Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's equally valid to say I feel anxious, I feel anxious about this, or I
Yeah.
feel sad, or I feel angry, but it's just so much less common, even though it's so much more true, because you are not your emotions or your feelings, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
what just
Yep.
comes up for me, the story that I want to share is just this podcast, the experience of this podcast, and how we started out like the first episodes, and we had our egos so wild out there. And when we connected, we're like, oh my God, we should postpone. Like, I'm really not feeling it. I'm not in a good mood today. I had such a bad day. And, all these things and all these egoic arguments and convincing things that we should postpone. Whereas when we then connected and we're like, we do this, we call it a circle, and we tune in. Is it true for me? Is it true for us? Is it true for the podcast? And we got a blaring yes every time. And so we went on
Mhm.
and connected to our greatness, and we um recorded from our greatness, and it's been fun every single time, right? And it's been so expansive even for us recording, even though we share it for you, but the journey we have been on, just by following through with this, sticking to the structure, showing up if it's our truth, and knowing when to postpone when it's not our truth, because that has happened as well. And it's just, yeah, it's just, it was very striking to see how quickly our vibrations, our emotions, our states in general change when we tune in and connect to the greatness. So yeah, that's what I would love Devin to guide us through now, to help you connect to your greatness and yeah,
Yeah.
see what comes through.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to give you an intro into meeting your greatness and learning how to tune into your greatness. And there's all different sorts of strategies to do that. You know, Chris mentioned these circles, and we're probably going to be sharing more about them. As soon as you started saying about circles, Chris, I was like, oh, I bet that's coming up in an episode sometime soon. But so just so everybody knows, as I guide you through this, this is not the only way. This is just a way that that is a tool. And so without further ado, let's do it. So before we even begin, just notice how you're feeling in relationship to going into meeting your greatness. Because it seems like we could assume everybody's excited about it, but notice if you have any trepidation in that of like, oh, I'm a little scared to meet my greatness. What if she's like too great? But whatever comes up, right? Or that you've had, I've had people to where they've had experiences before, but what I want you to do is just notice what you're coming in with. And then let's imagine cleaning the slate. Like from this moment forward, it's like, okay, I'm gonna really try to be in this experience in a new, like, I just want to receive it in a new way. So clean the slate. So just imagine like you're just literally cleaning your visual field, your energy field. however you want to do that. And if you want to take your hands like this, as you're seeing me on camera, that's a great idea. Otherwise, just imagine a whiteboard just becoming white. You've erased everything. And then we're going to set the intention that you meet your greatness today and you get to experience your greatness in a way that's meaningful for you today. And with that, I invite you to imagine that there is actually a circle in front of you. It's just an imaginary circle, almost like a hula hoop on the floor, okay? And inside of that hula hoop, that space inside of there is like you. That's the space of your greatness. And before you even, we're not going to go jump in there, but just like look at it first. If you were to just look at that circle, just see, is there anything coming out of it? Is there any color? Is there any energy? Is there any visuals or any like vibe that you see there? And then I invite you to just take a few steps closer to that hula hoop. And just like you're getting a feel of like, this is the energy of my greatness. And then when you feel ready, I invite you to step inside of that circle, inside of that hula hoop, and begin to experience and receive your greatness. Allowing any visual that comes through, allow that to be true. See how you could see yourself in your greatness, how your greatness sees you in your greatness. Notice the vibration, the energy, the color, the feel. See if you can feel the air any differently. How do you experience life? How do you experience yourself, your family, your friends? What's your outlook on the world from your viewpoint of your greatness? And then we're simply just going to ask your greatness to share with you today a gift, whatever that may be, a visual representation like a symbol of a gift, or a word, just something that your greatness would love for you to leave this circle with, to remember your greatness. Yeah. And then hold that, grab onto that, receive that. And if you're really ready, bring that into your heart. Imagine taking that gift that they give you and you bring it into your heart. And now that energy is more in contact with your heart, and your heart is more in contact with that energy of you as your greatness. And then as we're sitting here, I invite you to just notice some attributes, some aspects of who you are, things that really stand about, like, whoa, my greatness, she shines bright. My greatness is really joy-filled. My greatness is really calm. Just notice these aspects of your greatness that really stand out to you. And feel those. And then I invite you to take a deep breath into your body and out. And as your eyes begin to open and you begin to continue to breathe into your body, begin to notice how it feels being you, real time, having met your greatness. And then if you can, within a few moments here, as your eyes start to open and you become more conscious, is write down some of those attributes, right? So if you were calm, write down calm. And if you're on your phone or somewhere, just pull out your notes and just write a couple words so you can capture some of those sensations, those aspects, attributes of who you are, so that you can remember this and always remind yourself like this. And you can obviously always come back to those sensations and everything, but those words are kind of going to be like grappling hooks into like, here's the truth of who I am. And you can come back to this at any time to remind yourself, but just know it's as easy as kind of those key words to bring you back to like, okay, here's the truth of who I am. Here's my true energy. Yeah.
Thank you, Devin. That was awesome. I really
Of
love
course.
it.
Pleasure.
I haven't been guided through it like this, and I love that my little hula hoop was like spraying rainbow sparkle colors up before I went inside. I was like, oh, how fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, mine ends up being this like it's like this glowing orb to where it's like but just glow, 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 glow.
Look, yeah.
That's
Love
awesome.
that.
Love it.
What I want to add though is that I feel many when they do this exercise for the first time, um, meet this resistance of not just how great I am, but owning whatever comes through in that greatness circle, because we're so taught to be humble and to be demure and to be, like to fit in. And the things that come through in the greatness circle are anything but that, and they are such an important part of everyone here exploring and experiencing life. And the gifts that you receive and realize and connect to within the greatness circle are so powerful. And um, how do I say this? It's to me, it actually feels like an obligation that we have to live and express these gifts that we receive in the greatness circle, because if we don't, it's hard to fulfill what we're here to do, right? And to be a true expression of who our souls came here to be, right?
Yeah. And I to speak to that is more from a it's like a calling to me is that
Mhm.
if a person has yet to meet their greatness, your greatness doesn't like die off. Your greatness is still there. And it's like she's just like knocking on, be like, hello, you still there? Hello. And you get these we get these nudges in our life of like, oh, I'm still searching a little bit more. I still want to find these things. And that's could be a reason why somebody's listening to this very podcast is wanting to I want to get to know myself more. And it's those callings of I'd love to know myself at a deeper level, or I want to know how to get out of my own way. Those to me are like your greatness knocking at the door and being, hi, I'm still here.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
it's an invitation to either meet her, get to know her, or him or they, whoever, however you see and represent your greatness. It's just that true essence of yourself. It just doesn't go away. And it's just always wanting to connect with you.
Mm. And
But
wanting to be expressed through you, right?
exactly.
And for you to have the courage to actually own that and to be in that light, in that presence, in that
Hmm.
energy.
Totally. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so speaking of energy, we we invite you to put more energy and set the intention to be connected to your greatness from, from this experience now, from having connected to it here and having written down whatever came through for you, and to just, yeah, set that intention and connect to that, to be able to truly own it, to experience it, and to live it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can be putting energy and intention, right? So just right now, you can say from this moment forward, I'm intending to be connected to my greatness. And there's some really cool ways that we can kind of make that a little bit more tangible, right? And so journaling is the most easiest one, right? We just know that as soon as we start journaling and writing things down, we're taking something and making it very real. And so sometimes what you can also do is draw. Like if you had a visual representation, if you want to keep that visual in your mind's eye, you could draw that picture. You could also make any sort of visual board, like a Pinterest board or one of those old-fashioned vision boards. And remember, this is not from a place, because this is the truth of your greatness. This is not like, oh, I wish I could be this. This is just like what I saw, you know? So if it starts off like for myself, the first things I ever saw for my greatness was gold. And so I just started getting more of the gold energy in my life, right? Like if I had gold jewelry, I was trying to wear more gold jewelry and just having these ways to connect into that energy. And those are some of the ways. And one of my favorite ways is if you are into altars and creating an energetic space is like on my altar, I have things that symbolize my greatness and things that like as soon as I look at that, it reminds me of that energy. And so those are just some ideas that I use. And I know Chris has some really awesome ones too. Yeah, what you got, Chris?
Well, I'm also a very visual person. So in our coaching practice, we give and receive greatness readings fairly frequently. And so I just, I had the notes that I took from different ones, and I just like I wrote them down so I can, I can go back through them and read them. And yeah, what I wanted to say about the vision boards, like you said, it's not something that you kind of work for, that you imagine, that you try to manifest or anything of that. But like you said, it's a reminder. This is who you are at your true core. This is your soul essence, right? So it's just when we are in our egoic lower vibrations, it's awesome to have a visual reminder of, this is who I am. This is what I have access to. And this is where I can, who I am, what I can be, and
Mhm.
for me, it fits so well with yours. Such a surprise. For me, it's all about sparkles. So for me, I also, again, I got like this magic wand in your little exercise. Now I got like a magic wand with a star at the top, and I go and I just sprinkle sparkles everywhere. And yeah, and just this awe and wonder of life, to have this, this real connection to the magic that all of it is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, so you, the listener, it's going to be different ways that you feel drawn to connect to that and to harness and nurture that, right? And so, be creative. If one of our ideas speaks to you, then roll with that. And if you have a really creative idea, go with that, and then share with us, because I'm sure that
Mhm.
somebody else would love these really cool ideas, because it's so unique. About everybody's greatness is unique, but the way that we connect to it and the way that it's actually going to play out is unique too. So I'd love to hear some other ideas if there are any out there. Yeah.
Mhm. Like you
Right?
could also put it into a yoga pose or something, like when you
Totally.
connect that energy, like I'm thinking of the warrior, just like that strength and and whatever, or the inner balance. If you got a sense of calm, then you could do the tree pose or
Yeah.
whatever. I think there's tons of ways of connecting and keeping it really present in our lives, and it's just important to do that.
Yeah. And then what comes to me too is that if this is exciting for you and you want more, is Chris and I can do greatness readings for
Yeah,
you, right? Is so
obviously.
oftentimes when people are getting into learning this and wanting to know what our coaching is like, is we'll do a complimentary greatness reading, and so that we can start to open you up to this world. And so if you're called to that, please reach out to either one of us, and we would love to help you live in your greatness even more. Um, But short of that, if you met your greatness today for the first time, congratulations and welcome. Welcome to the world.
Awesome.
But um, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we feel good, Chris. We complete for the day. We got greatness across.
Yes. I
I
was just
think
gonna say,
so.
feel complete.
Awesome. Well, just complete for this episode, you guys. So may our greatness continue, and it will. It just does. It's all pervasive. But may you enjoy it and connect to it intentionally, and reach out if you need any help and support. But otherwise, we will see
See you
you
next
all in
time.
our next episode. Lots of love, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care.